Dr. Kukul's primary heart skipped a beat as the sensor readings flooded his screen. The secondary one wasn't far behind. In his 3 centuries of archaeological research, he'd never seen anything like this. The abandoned cradle world of humanity shouldn't be showing any energy signatures at all, let alone ones that made his equipment struggle to quantify. Impossible, he whispered, his scaled fingers dancing across the haptic interface. Simply impossible. Behind him, the bridge crew of the Eternal Seeker had fallen silent, their usual chatter replaced by a tense anticipation. Even Captain Velix, normally stoic to a fault, had abandoned her command chair to peer over his shoulder. "Report, Doctor," she ordered, her ceremonial head fins twitching with barely contained excitement. "The energy output." Call paused, double-checking his calculations. "It exceeds the total power generation of the entire Zaxian Federation by several orders of magnitude." A collective murmur rippled through the bridge. Earth was supposed to be a dead world, abandoned 500,000 years ago, when humanity mysteriously departed en masse. The historical records spoke of a desperate exodus, of billions fleeing their homeworld for reasons lost to time. Yet here it was, humming with more power than should be possible. "Visual range in 30 seconds, announced the helm officer. The main view screen shifted from the star-speckled void to a magnified image of Earth. At first glance, it appeared as the records described. Blue oceans, white clouds, green and brown landmasses. But as they drew closer, the details emerged. The orbital space around Earth bristled with structures that definitely weren't there in the historical archives. By the first egg, Captain Velix breathed. "Those are shipyards." Kittel's instruments were going crazy. The structures weren't just shipyards, they were active shipyards. Massive automated construction units moved with precise purpose, their scale defying comprehension. Some of the incomplete vessels in their berths were larger than anything in known space. "Captain," the communications officer called out, his voice tight with tension. "We're receiving a transmission. It's in perfect modern Zaxian." Before anyone could respond, the view screen flickered. The image of Earth was replaced by a human female in what appeared to be a formal military uniform. Despite being a recording, her presence commanded attention. The timestamp in the corner of the transmission made Keitel's scales ripple. It was from 500,000 years ago. "I am Dr. Amanda Brooks, Earth Defense Secretary," the human announced, her expression grave but determined. "If you're seeing this message, it means our long-range sensors have detected your approach. This automated greeting is being transmitted in your native language because we've had 500,000 years to prepare for this moment." The bridge crew exchanged glances. The implications were staggering. "What you're seeing around Earth isn't abandonment, it's preparation. Everything we built here has a purpose." Dr. Brooks' hologram seemed to look directly at them. "And God help us all if it's needed." The message ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. But before anyone could speak, their sensors blared a warning. Multiple signatures were emerging from Earth's orbital structures, heading directly for their position. "Defense platforms activated," the tactical officer reported, his scales pale. "We're being scanned by—" "I can't even describe these energy signatures. Our most advanced systems can't classify them." Kull watched as sleek vessels of impossible design took up escort positions around their ship. They moved with a fluid grace that seemed to ignore the normal laws of physics, their hulls gleaming with patterns that hurt his eyes to look at directly. "Captain," he said quietly, "I don't think humanity abandoned Earth at all. I think they transformed it into something else entirely, something that's been waiting all this time." As if in response to his words, new transmissions began flooding their receivers. Technical readouts, historical records, tactical assessments. 500,000 years of data, carefully curated and preserved, waiting for the moment someone would find Earth again. The real question was, waiting for what? The first tremors were subtle. Dr. Kittel might have dismissed them as normal seismic activity if not for the way Captain Velix's automated escort ships suddenly changed formation. Their sleek hulls shifted, realigning themselves into a defensive sphere around the asterisk Eternal Seeker asterisk. Multiple energy signatures detected beneath Earth's oceans, the sensor officer reported, his scales flushing with anxiety. They're rising. The Pacific Ocean began to boil, not from heat, but from movement. Massive shapes emerged from the depths, water cascading off surfaces that stretched for kilometers. Construction bots, each one large enough to build a small city, rose into the air with a grace that belied their enormous size. Playing archived footage, Catal announced, his claws clicking rapidly across his console. A new hologram materialized on the bridge. Dr. Amanda Brooks again, but this time in what appeared to be an underground command center. She looked older, more weathered than in her first message. Project Legion is now active, she announced, her voice heavy with the weight of history. If you're seeing this, it means our calculations were correct. The greatest minds of our species, Dr. Marcus Reynolds, General Sarah Cooper, Admiral James Sullivan, we all saw it coming. The threat that would make our previous wars look like children's games. The hologram flickered, showing schematics of the rising machines. They weren't just construction bots. They were self-evolving factories designed to improve their own designs over centuries of operation. Movement detected in Jupiter's atmosphere, Tactical announced. More constructs, thousands of them. Catal watched in fascination as the gas giant's swirling clouds parted, revealing vast mechanical swarms. They were harvesting the very elements of the planet, processing them into materials that his sensors couldn't even identify. Humanity didn't just leave behind defenders. Brooks continued, her hologram zooming in on technical readouts. We left behind builders, innovators, machines that would continue our work long after we departed. Every day they evolved, improved, prepared. 500,000 years of uninterrupted military-industrial evolution. A new alert caught Catal's attention. The Eternal Seeker's quantum processors had finally decoded more of the data packets they'd received. What he saw made his primary heart nearly stop. "Captain," he whispered, "these aren't just defense preparations. This is extinction insurance." The humans, they knew something was coming. Something big enough to require 500,000 years of preparation. Captain Velix leaned forward, her head fins rigid with tension. "Show me." The bridge holoprojectors came alive with tactical simulations. They showed wave after wave of something, consuming entire star systems. Each simulation ended the same way, with Earth's automated defenses engaging the threat. "We couldn't stay," Brooks explained, her hologram seemingly responding to their discovery. Earth needed to become something else, something more than a cradle world. We needed time to spread out, to learn, to prepare, but we couldn't leave our home defenseless. The construction bots were fully airborne now, their massive forms casting shadows over entire continents. They began to coordinate, merging into even larger complexes that defied comprehension. "These machines," Catal breathed, studying the readings, "they're not just building ships. They're building ships that can build better ships. It's exponential evolution, guided by artificial intelligences that have been running simulations for 500,000 years. "Incoming transmission," communications announced. "It's different." The hologram of Brooks vanished, replaced by a tactical display showing a massive void moving through space. Stars simply ceased to exist where it passed. The timestamp on the data made everyone on the bridge fall silent. It was from 3 days ago. "Now you understand," Brooks' voice echoed one final time. "Why we left. Why we had to transform Earth into this. Project Legion wasn't about abandoning our home. It was about turning it into humanity's ultimate contingency plan." Catal looked at his captain, seeing his own realization mirrored in her eyes. They hadn't just discovered Earth's defenses. They'd witnessed the awakening of humanity's real legacy, a fortress world that had spent 500,000 years preparing for this exact moment. And whatever was coming, it would be here soon. The holographic command center aboard the Eternal Seeker had never been designed to process this much data. As Fleet Commander Jessica Martinez's final message played through the ship's speakers, Catal watched tactical projections dance across every available surface, each one more incredible than the last. To whoever finds this recording, Martinez's voice rang clear despite the centuries. You're watching the culmination of Operation Eternal Vigil. They're coming. Not today, not tomorrow, but they are coming. And when they do, humanity will be ready. Captain Velix's head fins twitched as another massive construction bay activated in Earth's orbit, its framework assembled from what appeared to be dark matter manipulators, technology that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years. Doctor, she called to Catal, explain what we're seeing. Catal's claws danced across his console, trying to keep up with the flood of information. The shipyards, they're not building vessels as we understand them. These ships appear to be grown, rather than assembled, using principles that violate our understanding of physics. The proof was unfolding before them. What had started as skeletal frameworks rapidly developed into shapes that hurt the mind to observe. The vessels under construction seemed to exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously, their hulls rippling with patterns that suggested spaces bigger on the inside than the outside. Quantum displacement drives, Catal muttered, checking the specifications. Probability weapons, dark energy harvesters. Each ship is a testament to 500,000 years of automated evolution. They've developed technologies we haven't even dreamed of. A new hologram materialized, tactical readouts from Martinez's era showing the original designs. We knew we couldn't predict what we'd need in 500,000 years, her voice explained. So we created systems that could learn, adapt, and evolve. Every ship you see is the product of countless iterations, each one improving on the last. The bridge crew watched in silence as one of the newly completed vessels demonstrated its capabilities. It shifted between states of matter like water-changing phase, its hull becoming energy, then solid, then something in between. Traditional sensors couldn't track it. The ship simply refused to exist in any single point in space-time. By the first egg, the tactical officer whispered, a single one of these vessels could obliterate our entire defense fleet. That was never the intent. Martinez's recording continued, as if anticipating their fear. Earth wasn't transformed into a weapon of conquest. Everything you see, every ship, every defense platform, every automated factory, they serve one purpose: survival. Not just humanity's survival, but the survival of all sentient life. Catal's instruments detected new activity from Jupiter's direction. The construction swarms had completed their latest project, a massive ring structure that dwarfed anything in known space. As it activated, space itself seemed to bend around it. Mass production facility, Catal realized, checking the specs. It's designed to clone the evolved ship designs, not by the dozens or hundreds, but by the millions. These aren't just warships. They're the products of an entire civilization's worth of military evolution, condensed and refined over 500,000 years. Captain Velix stood from her command chair, her usual stoic demeanor cracking as she watched the ring structure begin its work. Send word to the Federation. They need to see this. Already being handled, a new voice announced. Artificial, yet somehow warm. One of Earth's AI guardians had interfaced with their systems. We've been broadcasting to all major civilizations since your arrival triggered our activation protocols. The gathering is beginning. Martinez's final hologram showed her standing in what appeared to be her own command center, moments before humanity's departure. To those who find Earth, know this. We didn't abandon our home. We transformed it into something unprecedented, a fortress that would continue growing stronger long after we left. The ships you see are just the beginning. They're the echo of a war that hasn't even started yet. As if to emphasize her point, the massive ring structure pulsed and space split open. The first wave of clone vessels emerged, each one perfect, each one impossible, each one ready for a war 500,000 years in the making. Hull realized they weren't just witnessing history. They were watching it prepare to repeat itself. The question was, would they be ready when it did? The descent into the Mariana Trench felt like diving into history itself. The Eternal Seeker's reinforced hull groaned under pressures it was never designed to withstand, protected only by the courtesy of Earth's ancient defense systems. 19 kilometers down, Catal announced, watching depth readings that shouldn't have been possible for their vessel. The human facility's automated systems are compensating for the pressure. Captain Velix stood at the forward viewport, watching as layers of darkness peeled away to reveal something that made her head fins go completely rigid. A facility embedded in the trench wall that stretched for hundreds of kilometers. Accessing historical archives, the ship's AI interface announced, loading classified files of Colonel Jack Thompson, Earth Defense Force Strategic Command. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a human male in dress uniform. His face bore the weight of someone who had seen too much. If you're viewing this, Thompson's recording began. You've been granted access to Project Oracle. God help us all. The facility's external lights activated in sequence, revealing its true scale. It wasn't just a base. It was an entire city dedicated to a single purpose. Prediction. We call them the Void Ones. Thompson continued, his hologram now showing tactical data that made Catal's scales crawl. They consumed the Andromeda Galaxy in less than a year. Triangulum fell 6 months later. By the time our long-range sensors detected them, they had already devoured 11 galaxies. The display shifted to show the combined work of humanity's greatest minds. Dr. Rachel Williams' quantum probability matrices, General Michael Chen's strategic simulations, Admiral David Cooper's extinction-level event scenarios, all pointing to the same conclusion. How? Cull whispered. How did they know? 500,000 years ago. We didn't just see it coming, Thompson's recording answered, as if anticipating the question. We calculated it. Every possible variation. Every potential timeline. The Void Ones don't just consume matter. They consume reality itself. Conventional weapons wouldn't work. Conventional strategy was useless. We needed something unprecedented. The facility's doors parted, admitting the Eternal Seeker into a vast chamber filled with quantum computers that had been running the same calculations for 500,000 years. That's why we left, Thompson explained, his hologram now showing the mass exodus. Earth needed to become more than a homeworld. It needed to become a forge, a laboratory, a fortress. But most importantly, it needed time. Time we couldn't give it if we stayed. New displays activated, showing the true scope of humanity's preparation. The orbital shipyards weren't just building vessels. They were building ships designed specifically to fight enemies that existed outside normal spacetime. The Void Ones can't be stopped by conventional means because they don't fully exist in our reality. Thompson continued. Dr. Williams theorized that we needed weapons that could operate on the same principle. But developing that technology, it would take hundreds of thousands of years of continuous evolution. Catal's instruments suddenly detected a massive energy signature from the facility's central core. The quantum computers had reached a new conclusion. Alert, the Earth facility's AI announced, its tone shifting for the first time to something approaching urgency. Long-range gravitational sensors have confirmed Colonel Thompson's original calculations. The void in space approaching the galaxy matches all predicted parameters. The bridge crew watched in horror as the sensor data resolved itself. A massive region of nothingness was moving through space, leaving absolute darkness in its wake. Stars, planets, entire systems simply ceased to exist as it passed. Now you understand, Thompson's final recording said softly, why we needed 500,000 years. Why we turned Earth into this. The ships above aren't just warships. They're reality anchors, each one designed to stabilize existence itself in the Void One's presence. We couldn't build them with the technology we had, so we created systems that would evolve until they could. Captain Velix turned to Catal, her expression grim. How long? Hull checked the facility's calculations. At current velocity, 3 months until they reached the galaxy's edge. Thompson's hologram gave one final salute. If you're seeing this, you're now part of humanity's last contingency plan. The ships are ready. The calculations are complete. All we need now is for humanity to return. As if in answer, the quantum computers suddenly detected thousands of new signatures appearing at the galaxy's edge. The prodigal children were coming home. The Grand Assembly Chamber of the Galactic Concordat had never hosted a session like this. Representatives from 97 spacefaring civilizations crowded the massive amphitheater, their attention fixed on the holographic display dominating the center stage. The void in space, now visible to all long-range sensors, crawled inexorably toward their galaxy. The human tactical analysis is precise. High Speaker Velix addressed the assembly. Her promotion from captain had been rapid after the Eternal Seeker's discovery. Lieutenant Emma Sullivan's predictions from 500,000 years ago match our current readings with 99.97% accuracy. The hologram shifted, showing a young human female in a tactical officer's uniform. Her eyes burned with an intensity that transcended time itself. Spatial track analysis. Final report. Sullivan's recording began. The Void One's movement patterns aren't random. They're methodical. They're hunting. Murmurs rippled through the assembly as Sullivan's tactical overlay appeared, showing the precise path the entities had taken through 11 galaxies. The pattern was undeniable. They were systematically consuming all organized matter in their path. We mapped their trajectory. Sullivan continued, her hands manipulating data points that had taken 500,000 years to prove correct. They don't just destroy, they learn. Each galaxy they consume makes them more efficient at consuming the next. By our calculations, they'll reach the Milky Way in approximately 500,000 years. And they'll be hungry. Kittel, now chief xenorchaeologist for the Concordat, stepped forward. The human exodus wasn't an evacuation. It was strategic positioning. They spread across space in a calculated pattern, gathering intelligence from every possible angle. The hologram updated, showing humanity's diaspora routes. They hadn't fled randomly. They had divided into precisely calculated groups, each taking a different path through space. Look at their departure vectors. Kittel highlighted the patterns. Each group was assigned a specific region of space to study, to learn, to prepare. While Earth's automated systems built the weapons, humanity gathered the knowledge needed to use them. Impossible. The mechanist representative buzzed. No species could maintain such coordination over 500,000 years. A new voice filled the chamber. The Earth Defense A. That is where you are incorrect. Human genetic memory augmentation was completed before departure. Each generation would carry the mission forward, encoded in their very DNA. The display shifted again, showing Sullivan's final tactical briefing. We're not just building weapons, she explained. We're building an army that understands how to fight outside of conventional reality. Each human lineage was tasked with mastering different aspects of space-time. When we return, we'll bring 500,000 years of accumulated knowledge with us. Warning signals suddenly flashed across every screen. The void had accelerated. 2 months, Kittel announced grimly. We have 2 months until first contact. The chamber erupted in panic, but fell silent as a new transmission cut through all channels. The source. The edge of the galaxy. This is Commander James Anderson of the Human Expeditionary Force. A voice announced calmly. We've received Earth's activation signal. All bloodlines are accounted for. All knowledge preserved. We're coming home. The tactical display bloomed with new signatures, thousands of them. Human ships, each different from the next, each carrying the accumulated wisdom of their assigned space sector. We understand now, High Speaker Velix addressed the assembly, why they seemed so different from other species, why they pushed themselves so hard. They were the only ones who looked far enough ahead to see this coming. The only ones willing to sacrifice their homeworld to save everyone else's. The hologram of Lieutenant Sullivan smiled sadly. If you're seeing this, it means we were right. Earth isn't just our homeworld anymore. It's everyone's last line of defense. We turned it into a sword and shield for all sentient life. As if to punctuate her words, Earth's orbital rings began to pulse with impossible energy. The automated forces were accepting targeting data from the returning human ships, 500,000 years of preparation finally finding its purpose. The void grew larger in every sensor display, hungry and inevitable. But this time, someone was ready for it. This time, humanity was coming home. The first wormhole opened like a flower of fire in the void between stars. Then another, and another. Soon, the edge of the galaxy blazed with thousands of quantum ruptures, each one a door through which humanity's children were returning home. Commander James Anderson stood on the bridge of the Infinity's edge, watching as his ship led the Sagittarius Arm expedition fleet toward Earth. 500,000 years of evolution had changed his people. Their ships weren't just vessels. They were extensions of their crews, bound together by technologies that defied conventional physics. All bloodlines reporting in, his XO announced, her neural interfaces pulsing with stored knowledge. The Andromeda Study Group has confirmed the Void One's weakness. The Carina Expeditionary Force has the countermeasures. The Orion contingent brings the tactical solutions. Anderson nodded, feeling the weight of ages in his augmented genetics. Each human group had evolved differently, adapted to their assigned regions of space. Some had become masters of dark energy. Others had learned to manipulate time itself. All had kept their original purpose burned into their DNA. Return when Earth called. Earth Defense Control, this is Anderson. He transmitted. The prodigal children are home. The response came not in words, but in pure data. 500,000 years of automated evolution reaching out to merge with their accumulated knowledge. Earth's orbital platforms began to shift, their structures realigning to complement the returning fleet's capabilities. By the stars, Catal whispered from his observer position on the bridge. Your ships, they're integrating with Earth's defenses perfectly. As if they were designed to. Anderson smiled. They were. Earth wasn't just building weapons while we were gone. It was building components of a larger whole. We brought the knowledge. Earth prepared the tools. The Infinity's edge slipped into formation with a dozen automated dreadnoughts, their systems meshing seamlessly. The ship's quantum core pulsed in harmony with Earth's defense grid, sharing 500,000 years of void space navigation techniques. From the Carina Arm came ships that could phase between realities. The Orion Group brought vessels that could manipulate probability itself. Each expedition had mastered different aspects of space-time, and now those pieces were coming together. Commander, his science officer called out, the Void Ones have noticed us. They're adjusting course. The tactical display showed the truth. The cosmic darkness had sensed their presence and was accelerating, hungry for new knowledge to consume. But this time, something was waiting for them. Signal from Earth Defense Control. Communications announced. They're activating the Jupiter Ring. The massive construction ring around Jupiter blazed to life, its dark matter forges beginning mass production of the most advanced ships ever conceived. But now those designs were being enhanced in real time with the returning humans' knowledge. This was always the plan, Anderson explained to Catal. Earth built the foundations, the automated systems refined them for 500,000 years, and we gathered the knowledge to perfect them. Apart, we were preparing. Together you're becoming something else entirely, Catal finished, his scales rippling in awe. The integration continued. Each returning fleet brought unique innovations that clicked into place like pieces of a vast puzzle. Technologies that seemed impossible alone became practical when combined. Earth's automated defenders adapted and evolved in real time, incorporating 500,000 years of human discovery into their designs. All expeditionary forces, this is Anderson. Begin knowledge transfer protocols. Across the solar system, humans who had evolved in the darkest reaches of space began sharing their hard-won wisdom with Earth's waiting systems. Ships transformed, enhanced by discoveries made in 1,000 different light years. Weapons evolved, incorporating principles learned from the very edge of reality. "The Void will be here in 6 weeks," his XO reported. Anderson nodded, watching as humanity's grand strategy finally took shape. "Then we have 6 weeks to become what we always meant to be. Not just returned children of Earth, but its purpose made manifest." The stars seemed to hold their breath as humanity's half-million-year journey reached its culmination. They had left as refugees, fled as students, and returned as masters. Now it was time to show the Void Ones why. The Void arrived like a cancer in reality itself, a spreading darkness that devoured light, matter, and space-time. But this time, it wasn't meeting helpless planets or unprepared civilizations. This time, it was meeting humanity's grand design, 500,000 years in the making. Captain Morgan Foster stood at the helm of the Eternal Vigilance, her consciousness merged with both her ship and Earth's defense grid. Around her, the combined fleet of automated dreadnoughts and returned human vessels moved in perfect synchronization, their formations defying traditional space combat doctrine. All reality anchors online. Major Sandra Hayes reported from her command hub in Earth's orbital ring. Quantum stabilization fields at maximum. The Void can't unmake what it can't touch. The first wave of Void Ones emerged from the darkness like oil seeping through reality's fabric. They were massive geometric shapes that hurt the mind to observe, trailing tendrils of unexistence behind them. "All units, execute Operation Lightbringer," Foster commanded. Humanity's response was beyond spectacular. Ships that had mastered dark energy in the Carina Arm created reality bubbles around the Void Ones, containing their destruction. Vessels from the Orion contingent fired probability weapons that forced quantum outcomes where the enemies couldn't exist. "They're adapting," Hayes warned, just like the simulations predicted. The Void Ones shifted, trying to consume the human fleet's defenses. But for every adaptation they made, they faced technologies that had evolved specifically to counter them. Earth's orbital rings transformed into artillery platforms, converting captured asteroids into relativistic weapons that struck with the force of reality itself. "Deploy the chronoshield," Foster ordered. The Jupiter ring blazed with impossible energy as it activated humanity's ultimate defense. Time itself bent around the solar system, creating a bubble where the laws of physics answered to human will alone. Inside this realm, the combined knowledge of 500,000 years of space exploration came into play. Multiple breaches in sectors 7 through 13. An AI announced, "Void entities attempting to bypass quantum barriers." "Not this time." Foster smiled grimly. "Major Hayes, initiate the Lazarus Protocol." Hayes orbital platforms released swarms of nanite clouds that had evolved for 500,000 years in Earth's automated forges. They flowed like liquid light into the breach points, reconstructing reality faster than the Void Ones could unmake it. The battle raged across dimensions. Ships from the Andromeda Study Group phased between realities, striking at the Void Ones' non-Euclidean geometries, with weapons that couldn't exist in normal space. The automated defense fleet, guided by AIs that had spent 500,000 years preparing for this moment, executed maneuvers that turned space itself into a weapon. "They're pulling back," Hayes reported, her voice tight with concentration. "Regrouping for another." The Void erupted with new horrors, shapes that twisted reality into screaming configurations. But humanity had seen this coming too. The Earth defense grid activated its final protocols, and the planet itself seemed to pulse with stored energy. "Now we show them why we needed all this time," Foster announced on all channels. "Execute Final Dawn Initiative." Every ship, every platform, every defense system activated in perfect harmony. The combined knowledge of humanity's expeditions merged with Earth's 500,000 years of automated evolution. Space curved, time bent, and reality shuddered as humanity deployed weapons that had taken 500 millennia to perfect. The Void tried to adapt, tried to consume, tried to unmake. But everywhere it reached, it found humans who had mastered that particular aspect of existence. Every horror it unveiled met countermeasures that had been refined for precisely this purpose. Multiple void entities destabilizing, Hayes reported, her voice rising with fierce joy. Their spatial matrix is collapsing. The simulations were right. They can't adapt to attacks from every level of reality simultaneously. Foster watched as the combined fleet pressed their advantage, driving burning lances of anti-void energy into the cosmic darkness. Earth's orbital rings pulsed with power that made nearby stars look dim, pouring 500,000 years of accumulated energy into the assault. "Status report," she commanded. Hayes' response carried the weight of ages. "We're winning." The void began to fragment, its darkness pierced by weapons evolved beyond comprehension. Humanity hadn't just prepared for this war. They had become its inevitable victory. Marshal Thomas Reynolds stood aboard Earth's primary defense platform, watching the last fragments of void energy dissipate into normal space. The battle was over, but its implications were only beginning to unfold. Representatives from every major galactic civilization had gathered to witness what came next. Combat analysis complete, the Earth Defense AI announced. Void entity presence reduced to 0. Reality stabilization at 99.98% and rising. Operation Eternal Vigil is concluded after 500,000 years, 47 days, 13 hours, and 22 minutes. Reynolds turned to address the assembled dignitaries, his augmented eyes reflecting the light of a galaxy it would now survive. Behind him, the combined human fleet, both automated and returned, began powering down their reality-warping weapons. "What you witnessed today wasn't just a victory," he began, his voice carrying the weight of 500,000 years of purpose. "It was the culmination of humanity's greatest gambit. We didn't just leave Earth to save ourselves. We left to become what the galaxy needed us to be." The massive holographic displays showed the battle's aftermath. Where the void had been, stars now shone again. Reality itself seemed to breathe easier, freed from the threat that had consumed 11 galaxies before meeting humanity's prepared defense. "The automated factories are beginning reconstruction protocols," Captain Foster reported, her ship docking with the platform. "The Jupiter ring is shifting to peaceful production. Earth's defense systems are standing down for the first time in 500,000 years." Heatle stepped forward, his scales shimmering with emotion. "You knew. All those centuries ago, you knew exactly what you would need to become. Every expedition, every technological evolution, every automated improvement. It was all precisely calculated." "Not calculated," Reynolds smiled. "Prepared. We didn't know exactly what we would face, so we prepared for everything." Each human lineage mastered different aspects of existence. Earth's automated systems evolved every possible type of defense. Apart, we were incomplete. Together you became something unprecedented, High Speaker Velix finished. A species that transformed its own homeworld into the anvil upon which they forged their ultimate form. The orbital rings around Earth began to shift, their weapon systems retracting for the first time since humanity's departure. Below, the massive construction bots that had emerged from the oceans started the process of restoration. Earth would bear the scars of its transformation forever, but life could return to its surface. To all human expeditionary forces, Reynolds broadcast, "Operation Eternal Vigil is complete. After 500,000 years, we can finally say, mission accomplished." Cheers erupted across every channel as the weight of centuries lifted. Ships that had evolved in the darkness between galaxies began power-down sequences. Crews that had carried their purpose in their DNA for 500,000 years finally allowed themselves to breathe freely. "The question," Cuttle ventured, "is what happens now." Reynolds gestured to the scenes of reconstruction already beginning. "Now we share what we've learned." Each human expedition mastered different secrets of the universe. Earth's automated systems evolved technologies beyond imagination. We didn't do all this just to hoard it. The Jupiter ring pulsed one final time, but instead of warships, it began producing vessels of exploration and discovery. The same technologies that had saved existence could now be turned to understanding it. We didn't just build weapons, Reynolds explained. We built understanding, knowledge, wisdom. Earth wasn't just a fortress. It was a library, storing everything we learned across 500,000 years of preparation. And now it's time to build rather than prepare, Foster finished, joining them at the viewport. Time to create instead of defend. Below them, Earth began its own transformation. The automated systems that had turned it into a fortress world now began the long process of restoration. It would never be the same world humanity left, but perhaps it could become something new, something that honored both what was lost and what was gained. To all civilizations, Reynolds broadcast on all frequencies. On behalf of humanity, both returned and evolved. Welcome to a galaxy without void. Welcome to tomorrow. The sun rose over Earth's scared but unconquered surface, its light touching a world that had waited 500,000 years to see this dawn. It was time to begin again.